families who are one citizen and one non-citizen. So one person is a Malaysian and another could be like an Indonesian person who they got married to. As we know that today, we live in a borderless world. So there are many Malaysians who work overseas, they are studying overseas, and they get married. And so we have to ensure that when they are in Malaysia, that there are policies that are non-discriminatory and ensure that women's rights are protected and children's best interest is taken care of. So we go on to now is the case of how do we approach all of this. We thought that, protecting of women's rights should come easily. We thought we should not have so much of difficulty in changing the law or reforming of the law. And so our issue that we work on currently is very specific to the citizenship of children born to Malaysian women, the overseas born children of Malaysian women do not get citizenship, although children born in Malaysia of the same parents are getting citizenship. So it's only those who are born overseas who are able to get citizenship. Now, when we embarked on this in 2018, there are three issues, as Nurjana correctly said. The rights of Malaysian women to pass on citizenship to the overseas born children is one, where there's a gender discrimination. And there's the rights of Malaysian women to pass on citizenship to their non-citizen spouses. Now, why is this so important? Okay, because Malaysian men have been enjoying this right for the last 60 years, right? And what happens is, the same right is not accorded to Malaysian women. And because of this, it impacts women in transnational marriages, because women are the carers of their children. So if the marriage, so what happens to these children born overseas? They have to take on the citizenship of their foreign father. So if the marriage breaks down and the mother decides to bring her child back to Malaysia, there are a lot of difficulties. There are difficulties for mother and child to live together because the child's nationality is not Malaysian. The child's nationality can be French. Then there's difficulty in accessing schools, going to national schools. The mothers have to pay a lot of money to get their children in international school. There are issues pertaining to healthcare, and there are various intersectionalities. As we know, there are children who may have autistic problems or who need long-term treatment and they cannot get it in Malaysia. And bear in mind that that same family, shall I stop, Nurjana?
Please go. No, I think please go ahead. I think you speak wonderfully clear, so it's easy for.
I hope everyone is able to understand me. So we need to ensure that even the best interest of the children, because that's according to the CRC and the spirit of the Convention on Rights of Children, to be taken care of. So we have families who have one Malaysian child and maybe one non-Malaysian child. We have family, because one child born in Malaysia, another child born overseas. We have families whose children may be autistic. We have families whose children may and cannot get treatment in Malaysia. And sometimes they have to choose between the Malaysian child and the non-citizen child. Isn't that terrible?
Okay,
so I think hospitalization, they have to pay foreigner rates, double charges. And we're talking here about children. And the impact is on the mother. The trauma that is faced is on the woman. Today borders are open, people go overseas to study, get married, people work overseas, get married and come. And Malaysia has opened up its borders as well. We have a lot of migrant workers working in Malaysia, and they can get married to Malaysians. And then what happens? We have this situation that if they go overseas and they go and meet the in-laws and have a child there, that child can be a non-citizen and can impact that child for the rest of the life. So there's also the intersectionality of when the child becomes 18 and is not a student anymore, that child is asked to leave the country. But if the child has never ever lived in Indonesia, and you're asking that child who's at 18 to leave the country, it is traumatic. And because sometimes, people are working, they can be working in a third country like the US, they go there to work, the marriage doesn't work. Many even marriages between locals don't work, right? And then, but it's just one country, they can meet together. I mean, the parents have access to the children and can co-parent easily. In binational marriages, you have that difficulty. Okay, and the rights of women need to be protected, need to be safeguarded, so we don't put them in situations of harm. So if they are married overseas and their marriage is not working, they remain in toxic marriages, in marriages that are not working, abusive marriages, open to gender-based violence, because their children do not have their citizenship, and they come to Malaysia. If they come back to Malaysia, they're going to face problems because the child has the father's nationality. In fact, those children are forced to take on the father's nationality when they are born overseas. One of the other issues that we work on is on binational families. Okay, I'll stop.
Yeah. Thank you. Masalahnya untuk masalah ketimpangan gender atau ketidakadilan gender dalam hak kewarganegaraan di Malaysia terutama adalah peraturan yang menyatakan bahwa ada diskriminasi antara hak kewarganegaraan bagi perempuan dan laki-laki. Jadi kalau seorang yang menjadi fokus dari Family Frontiers program-programnya itu fokus untuk keluarga-keluarga binasional atau keluarga yang suami istri punya nationality atau kewarganegaraan yang berbeda. Nah, ini terutama adalah sangat problematik ketika seorang istri adalah warga negara Malaysia dan suaminya warga negara asing, karena secara otomatis kalau mereka menikah, apalagi kalau di luar lahirnya di luar negeri, itu mengikuti anak tersebut mengikuti kewarganegaraan si ibu. Nah, yang menjadi problemnya, tetapi kalau mereka meskipun mereka lahir di luar negeri tetapi ibunya orang Malaysia, warga negara Malaysia atau keduanya orang Malaysia, mereka menjadi warga negara, bisa mendapatkan kewarganegaraan Malaysia. Jadi itu yang menjadi fokus. Problemnya adalah banyak sekali isu-isu seperti ini, kasus-kasus ketimpangan gender yang ada di dalam isu kewarganegaraan itu punya intersection ya. Misalnya kalau kemudian si ibu yang warga negara Malaysia, terus ayahnya orang asing, tinggal di misalnya Indonesia, kemudian atau mengunjungi Indonesia dan kebetulan lahir di Indonesia, nah otomatis si anak tidak bisa mendapatkan kewarganegaraan Malaysia, dan itu menjadi problem misalnya karena mereka kalau otomatis tidak warga negara Malaysia tidak bisa mendapatkan hak-haknya sebagai warga negara Malaysia, terutama dalam hak kesehatan, mendapatkan akses kesehatan atau mendapatkan akses ke sekolah, karena sekolah internasional akan sangat mahal sekali. Jadi ada dari peraturan yang sepertinya sederhana ini mempunyai intersection. Jadi ada pertemuan-pertemuan dengan isu yang lainnya, intersection dengan isu-isu lainnya yang menimbulkan banyak luar biasa stres, karena pada prinsipnya si anak yang warga negara Malaysia berdasarkan yang lahir oleh atau dari perempuan yang berkeluarga negara Malaysia, yang si orang ibu yang selalu punya kewajiban untuk selalu memperhatikan well-being atau kebutuhan anaknya, tetapi tidak bisa mewariskan kewarganegaraannya, itu sangat menimbulkan banyak sekali masalah. Jadi di era yang borderless, jadi di era sekarang ini kita yang begitu banyak sekali urusan transnasional ya, orang bisa hari ini misalnya bekerja di Indonesia, apalagi di Malaysia, kalau misalnya kemudian orang Malaysia, seorang Malaysia laki-laki, terus kemudian bekerja di Malaysia dan kemudian menikah dengan warga negara Malaysia, terus kemudian kebetulan mereka berkunjung ke Indonesia dan melahirkan anak di sana misalnya, dan itu ada banyak kasus seperti itu. Nah, itu akan menjadi problem karena kan si anak kemudian tidak mendapatkan kewarganegaraan Malaysia. Atau juga misalnya peraturan mereka bisa mendapatkan kewarganegaraan setelah sampai usia 18 tahun dan bisa mengajukan. Jadi isu interseksionalitas ini yang menjadi fokus, bagaimana beratnya dampak dari peraturan kewarganegaraan yang berbasis yang timpang secara gender. Bina?
Yeah. Thank you for explaining that so well, Uchana. So now we also focus on the reform of some of the policies and practices that discriminate Malaysian women in binational families. So this is mainly, there are about 200 to 250,000 Malaysians married to non-citizens. So some of them are still on a expat visa, some of them are on a work permit, some come on Malaysia My Second Home. But at the same time, many of them have difficulties accessing permanent residence. For instance, a Malaysian man, although in paper it says that his wife can pass on citizenship 2 years after she gets PR, by the time these women get PR, they're in their 50s. And without permanent residence, at any time, the men or the Malaysian spouse can actually not go to immigration, and that person becomes they are very dependent on the Malaysian spouse for permanent residence, citizenship, even for their visas and legal status. For instance, for myself, it took about 20 years to get permanent residence. Until then, we are all dependent on our Malaysian spouses. It is not good for a woman to be dependent on her spouse, because economically also we need permission from our Malaysian spouse to be able to work. There are a lot of limitations of working. So when we started FSSG, we wanted to eliminate this economic dependence on Malaysian men and this disadvantage to women. And you know, Malaysia is a signatory to CEDAW. Indonesia has been very good. They actually reformed the law in 2007. Okay, but in Malaysia, there's many areas, although the law is there and it's not enforced, in practice, it keeps many women in situations of harm and violence. And that is because they are so dependent on their Malaysian spouses to be employed, for work, for their legal status. Fortunately, healthcare is at same rates as Malaysian women, but also comes a problem when they are divorced or they are widowed. They don't have the same rights. Many times, if there are no children, even after 40 years of marriage, you are asked to leave the country. But go where? You have no support systems. That's why it's very necessary, and I hope all of you, at some point of your lives, will be a part of government or in positions where you can reform the law to ensure that women's rights are mainstreamed in all spheres of life. Okay, so whether it's social, whether it's economical, whether it's political, whether it's cultural, just ensure the rights of women are protected, ensure that the rights of women are mainstreamed everywhere in offices, so whichever sphere that you're working in, right? And I hope that you will take away this at least into, your future. So,
Thank you, Bin. Oke, so Bina sendiri terkait dengan binasional ya, keluarga yang punya dua kewarganegaraan, suami istrinya yang berbeda. Bina sendiri untuk kasusnya, jadi yang dilakukan oleh Family Frontiers adalah saat ini ada 257 pasangan yang sedang menunggu, yang ada dalam visa. Mereka kondisi statusnya bukan warga negara, tetapi sudah memiliki visa dan permit kerja. Yang sebenarnya seharusnya adalah warga negara Malaysia. Bina sendiri untuk kasusnya dia perlu menunggu sampai 20 tahun untuk mendapatkan kewarganegaraan Malaysianya. Di sini yang menjadi bahkan ada kasus 40 tahun, sudah 40 tahun tinggal di Malaysia, karena pada akhirnya tidak bisa memenuhi ketentuan untuk mendapatkan kewarganegaraan dan harus pergi meninggalkan Malaysia. Pertanyaannya, mereka harus pergi kemana? Karena selama ini yang mereka tinggal selama 40 tahun seluruh hidupnya tinggal di Malaysia. Jadi kasus-kasus seperti ini yang menjadi constraint atau perhatian ya. Jadi yang dilakukan adalah reform. Jadi yang dilakukan oleh Family Frontiers adalah melakukan reforms untuk peraturan-peraturan yang diskriminatif, sehingga peraturan-peraturan diskriminatif terkait kewarganegaraan ini bisa lebih memberikan kesetaraan hak yang sama antara warga negara laki-laki Malaysia maupun warga negara perempuan Malaysia, punya hak yang sama setara untuk bisa mewariskan kewarganegaraannya kepada anaknya. Jadi Bina juga berharap, jadi dalam kelompok ini semoga di suatu saat nanti ada teman-teman yang bekerja baik di pemerintahan atau dimanapun harus memperhatikan adanya isu adalah hak-hak perempuan, itu harus sangat diperhatikan. Jadi isu gender itu ada di semua lini, dan semoga nanti bisa membuat isu perempuan atau gender, women's rights, itu menjadi mainstream bagi pemahaman teman-teman ketika nanti bertugas, terutama di pemerintahan atau dalam proses pembuatan kebijakan. Jadi itu yang dari 1 dari 2 atau 3 pejabat atau pejabat publik yang sadar pentingnya akan pemahaman gender akan sangat meningkatkan harkat hidup semua anggota keluarga, jadi tidak hanya perempuan saja. Karena yang terjadi kasusnya misalnya di Malaysia adalah perempuan yang menunggu karena ada prosesnya untuk menjadi warga negara lama sekali, meskipun di situ dinyatakan ada 10 tahun, ada 2 tahun, tetapi lama sekali, tidak selalu seperti itu. Nah, dalam posisi yang belum mendapatkan kewarganegaraan, seorang perempuan akan sangat tergantung kepada pasangannya untuk misalnya mencari pekerjaan, misalnya dia harus mendapatkan izin dari suaminya. Jadi tidak bisa mandiri. Bagaimana kalau kemudian dalam prosesnya mereka menikah dan cerai, yang menikah itu bercerai atau berpisah, itu situasinya mungkin dia harus kembali ke negaranya, dan itu akan menempatkan jadi hukum yang kewarganegaraan yang tidak berpihak kepada perempuan ini sangat memposisikan perempuan di posisi yang sangat rentan.
So where we are is, unfortunately, we did not win the case in the federal court, in the Court of Appeals. So in the Court of Appeals, we lost to 2-1. We got a majority decision where the judges said that we should be going to Parliament, and that, so that's where we stand. And right now we have, after that, when we lost in the Court of Appeals, it was shattering for the mothers, because up and down, we've been going to court so many times. So the government uses taxpayers' money to take us to a higher court. And we are a small organization, but where it stands, only 6 mothers were able to get citizenship for their children. The rest of them are all frozen, right? So we have appealed right now to the, we are making an appeal. We have made an application for leave to the federal court. So that on 14th of December, there will be a hearing whether we will be allowed to go ahead with the hearing in federal court. Now, in the meantime, the judges said the right place for us to be looking for the reform is the Parliament. So in the meantime, 17 members of Parliament have put in a private member's bill, okay, because they said, the court said go to Parliament. So when the private member's bill, 17 of them MPs put a bill to amend the constitution, the speaker rejected. He rejected the motion to pass the bill. Well, he said you have to get the consent from the Conference of Rulers first. But the government should have by now, because back in November last year, made a commitment to amend the constitution, and they had consulted the Conference of Rulers. They said they will have a committee. The committee was not yet formed, and they should have sought the consent if they were really truly concerned about women's rights. And what is so difficult? After all, men enjoy the same rights. After all, these children can get citizenship in Malaysia. Only if they go overseas, they're not able to get citizenship. And it's only the change of one word. It is ibu, bapa atau ibu. Changing one word, or use the word or mother in the federal constitution, or parents, one of these. Now, women's rights, do you want me to continue? Do you want to translate?
Yes, yes. I would like to ask you for your clarifications. First, the reform was approved by the Mahkamah?
No. They said go to Parliament. Go to Parliament. So we lost in Mahkamah.
The earlier one, you said
we won. Yeah, correct. So in KL High Court, we won in the Mahkamah. Then the government could have allowed that ruling to be implemented, which said the 6 Malaysian mothers and women in similar situations should be able to pass on citizenship to their overseas born children. Okay. But the government appealed in a higher court.
I see. And who's the government who's on this case? Which part of the government? You said, the court, the High Court, and the government.
Yeah. So we have the Parliament. We have which forms the government. So the majority of the Parliament will form the government. Right. So we have the government, and then we have the court, which is where we access the judiciary. We access the judiciary. Yeah.
Sorry, Bina, I'm not sorry. Which department of the government that is in this case? Yeah.
So we actually put the case against the government of Malaysia on the whole. So the entire government, as well as the Home Minister. And the minister, director of JPN, the National Registration Department. So they
Oh, I see. So that's that particular
the government of Malaysia was.
Okay, yeah, we have the similar. Okay, so jadi ada progres sebenarnya dalam perjuangan ini, dalam perjuangan kesetaraan untuk kewarganegaraan bagi perempuan warga negara Malaysia pada tahun 2001. Jadi Pina bersama teman-temannya, bersama Aliansi Family Frontier mendapatkan putusan dari pengadilan tinggi bahwa ibu yang warga negara Malaysia mulai bisa memberikan mewariskan kewarganegaraannya kepada anak-anaknya. Tetapi keputusan dari Mahkamah Agung ini ditolak oleh pemerintah, terutama oleh Dinas Kependudukan, ya, di Registration Department. Dan mereka meminta bahwa sebaiknya minta saja ke parlemen. Jadi intinya meskipun sudah menang kasus yang didampingi oleh Pina dan kawan-kawan ini di pengadilan tinggi, tetapi ditolak oleh pemerintah, terutama dalam hal ini Kementerian Kependudukan, sehingga mereka meminta untuk dibawa ke DPR, dan ini menjadi situasi yang kembali ke nol lagi. Jadi masih banyak terus perjuangan yang harus dilakukan, dan termasuk yang kasus Ibu Nana yang ada di video tersebut itu masih juga belum mendapatkan kejelasan status. Terima kasih. Okay, Pina, go ahead. So can you go like another 5 minutes?
Yeah. Okay, so let me just
summarize.
Yeah. So there are only 24 countries in the world that do not allow women to pass on citizenship. As you know, that Indonesia has reformed the law, and only 2 in the ASEAN region, that's Brunei and Malaysia. And okay, so going on to the next. Hold on. Oops. So this that you see here is all the activities that Malaysian mothers participate. As I said, they participate in various. They are protesting. They go for screenings. They go do public outreach. So they are there fronting the advocacy campaign. It's very, very important because this belongs, the issues about them. The stories are going out to public via the media, via videos, via our social media. The mothers are on TikTok. So it's very important always to have the impacted community on the forefront, so that their experiences are heard by the entire public, because you also want to get the public support. So here we have that women, I've already spoken to you about the women who have to face gender-based violence. They don't have autonomy over themselves, and also the children who lack access to schooling. They also have lack healthcare access at similar rates. I want to